Somebody the other day asked me to tell them the Bigfoot story, and I had a TikTok about it, but it was like separated in parts, so I'm just going to go ahead and combine and make my long story a lot shorter. Yes, I saw Bigfoot when I was 6 years old, and I'm not lying, even though people thought that I just had a really, really crazy imagination, which I do, but I did see Bigfoot. Anyway, so I lived I grew up on top of a mountain. We were all related. It'd been in my family since the 1870s. My grandma's house was built on the old homestead from 1870, and she had one of those basements that was actually carved into the ground. It was 2 rooms. We had 2 ponds as well. We still do. My mom and dad still live on the property. So it's very rural. And anyway, so the basement actually faced one of the ponds and everything. The 2 rooms, the one room was actually, it was carved out of rock. And when I was a kid, I thought it was really cool because I would pretend that the side of the rock was Golly Mountain, and I'd get my Hot Wheels out and I'd play and I'd like move them around like they were going around the mountain curves and stuff. And then the second room my grandma used to store her canned vegetables and stuff from her garden. Anyway, my dad would always leave the door open. He lived right next door to my grandma. And that way all our dogs could go in and cool off, during the hot summer. And I was 6 years old, and I had this tricycle. It was a red tricycle. And in the evenings, I loved to go into Grandma's basement, play with my Hot Wheels, and then I'd go around in circles on my little red trike, which is still in the basement to this day. I have pictures. Like, I won't go down there by myself, but I went down there with that, and my trike is still there in, like, the hallway. So, anyway, I am going around, and I'm going around, and the doorway that went into the second room, it was really tall. I mean, it was, like, well over 6 feet tall. Okay, so I'm going around this one curve, and I noticed something is looking at me. And, you can kind of like, you just feel the eyes. And so I look up, I'm like, what the heck? I do another circle. And that's when I realized that there is something standing upright like a human in the doorway. Okay, so I'm still going full circle here, And so my next time around, I'll look better. And this thing was so tall that it actually had its head like down like this because it was too tall for the doorway, but it was standing up. It was humanoid, but it was very hairy. Like not super duper hairy, but, it had dark fur, and the hands were down like a human. So the hands were down to the side. And it had kind of like a snout, but it wasn't as large as like a bear snout or something like that. It kind of protrude out just very, very slightly. And it had an almost human face appearance, but it wasn't. It was bigger in stature, and anyway, and its eyes were not human. As a 6-year-old, they actually appeared to be red. And anyway, so like the next turn, I hopped off my bicycle. I took off running. I ran to my grandma, and I told her. And she said, like, there was a Goodwill downtown in Montgomery. And she said, well, maybe like there was a homeless woman that got a fur coat, and they were in her basement. So my mom didn't believe me, and I don't know why a homeless person would be in her basement with a fur coat on in July, but that was her theory. So because Mama wouldn't believe me, I ran over to my mom's, and I told Mom, and Mom said, well, it was a bear. And I was like, I know what bears look like. Those bears are not afraid of us. I mean, like they're like bellies of dragon. They were getting on the porch. I know what a bear looks like, and I knew what a bear looked like when I was 6 years old. It was not no daggone bear. So Mom didn't believe me, and nobody believed me. And I mean, I was really traumatized from seeing this, and I was so scared that from the time I was 6 to the time I was 16, I wouldn't step foot in that basement anymore because I thought that this thing was going to come and get me. And so I did see something. I mean, I joke about it, but like I really did. And even when I was a kid, like I'd hear things at night, and I'd think that it was Bigfoot coming back. And nobody believed me until I went to Shaka Khan in Charleston and I talked to John Tice from Mountain Monsters and I told him. And a lot of people think that, they were, just publicity and stuff like that. But I mean, he was the only one that would actually listen to my story and actually gave me the time of day to believe me and my story of being a 6-year-old and seeing Bigfoot. And he said that, we're in Fayette County, and he said that he said that there was a Nicholas County Bigfoot, and that Mount Olive, where I grew up, was in the migration pattern for the Nicholas County Bigfoot. So, believe what you will, but he was the only one that actually believed my story. And I mean, now that I talk more about it, people have come up to me and shared their own story. And, there's been some people that actually wanted to look for it. Of course, I was 6 years old, 30 some years ago. I don't, I, I mean, there might be Bigfoot babies out there. I don't know. But I seriously doubt that after all these years, there'd be something. But that is my story. That is a summary of my story. Not a lot of, jokes today, but somebody did ask, for me to tell the story. And, I know that, the other times I was like trying to do like makeup tutorials like them fancy people do and stuff, which I can't even really do my makeup that well. But, I thought, well, I'll just just tell the story, tell it quickly. So, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I saw Bigfoot when I was 6 years old in Mount Olive, West Virginia, Fayette County.